Hello everybody, welcome to today's album review. Today we are reviewing Limp Bizkit, Chocolate Starfish and the hot dog flavoured water. Just a reminder to everybody that do not hesitate to recommend an album for us to listen to. Just leave it in the comment section below, and as demand is quite low at the moment, there's a good chance we probably actually would listen to that chosen album. So get typing. So I was the one that went ahead and chose Limp Bizkit. So I will tell you what I thought of it. So I do think that the initial reaction to choosing an album sometimes does play a part in how things kind of play out, kind of thing. So like with Limp Bizkit, I wasn't expecting to like it, so my expectations were low to start with. So that helps in a way. Artists like Limp Bizkit, when I don't expect much from them, whereas when you sometimes have artists where you do expect more, maybe like the previous one we did from the guy from One Direction, and then it doesn't quite live up to the expectations, you kind of feel a bit more disappointed. So I think with this, it wasn't any worse than what I expected it to be. I'm not going to say I liked it. I'd be lying. So yeah, I didn't really like it. Wasn't really my sort of thing. But elements of it were all right, I suppose. I found it quite interesting, or maybe intriguing to listen to. A lot of different kind of styles going on. I don't know, quite unusual, at least to what I'm used to. So I don't know how you describe it. It's like a mix of like some metal and then some rap. Then the songs were quite varied, in my opinion, like in terms of what they offered. Like there were certain songs which featured rappers, which were just pure rap songs, or at least one of them was. Other songs were louder, kind of more metally. Some songs had a lot of swearing in, some didn't. I don't know, there was quite a lot going on. So every time a new song came on, I never quite knew what to expect from it, which I like. But yeah, with all that being said, overall, I can't say I liked it. I didn't like it. It was just anything to do with metal, that kind of hard rock stuff, whatever it's called, is always going to be a bad thing for me. It's not something that I like. I think I'll end my kind of review on them by saying this. If this was just pure like metal, I would have hated it. But the fact it wasn't, the fact it did have that variation in it, the rapping and all the other stuff, did make it, I suppose, just about listenable. Brett, over to you.
Yeah, so just like a couple of good points you made. I know we've spoken about it before, haven't we, about going to certain albums with different expectations, and it can sometimes have a positive effect or negative effect, or just what you expect. Quick question to you, Lee, just whilst I was doing a bit of research. What do you think of the band name as Limp Bizkit? What's your thoughts on that?
I've never thought about it. Just a name to me, Limp Bizkit. I don't know what it means, why they've gone for that name.
Well, really that's how it started. Yeah, because I was intrigued to think, where did they get the name from, really? And apparently he purposely wanted to name the band so people would pick up their records and think they're obviously rubbish, or he didn't want people, probably like me and you, to pick it up and go, oh yeah, I want to listen to this album, this is what I'm after. And some of the other names that they had considered, I don't know, you might need to bleep some things out. No, there's no swearing, but Gimp Disco, Bitch Piglets, Split Dick Slits, and Blood Farts. So it was such a, so I didn't want to say it just because, again, just found it very weird. But yeah, I think, and then my next question was then, what genre would you have said this would come under?
Yeah.
Because there was heavy metal, new wave, rock, and rap. and hip hop, it seems like, as well. So a real mix. With this album, I did find there were a few surprises, and in a positive way as well. And I think you're right. I think if it was a certain genre all the way through, would have hated. But I was surprised with a couple of tracks that came up, which I wasn't expecting, and I actually quite liked them as well. So, like you, did I overall like the album? No. Would I really want to listen to it again? No. But it doesn't take away from the fact that there was some variation to it. There were a couple of songs that actually quite liked, but maybe that's also because a couple of songs really put expectations really low, and suddenly when these songs came on, it was like something a little bit different from there, really. So yes, that's pretty much how I would sum it up from there. What I also found out, which I felt was quite interesting, in terms of how they managed to get to claim to fame, and apparently the band Korn were playing, so a big sort of rock band, heavy metal, I'd say, rock band, and apparently he just tried to contact them and said, "Do you want to meet up for a drink?" I think he was working the bar. "Do you want to meet up at this bar? I'll give you a free beer." And speak to them, and then they offered it. They then managed to listen to some of his stuff that he'd been doing, and said, "Do you want to come on tour with us? Do you want to be like a support act for us?" So I got to give credit for because you think, how does someone like this get into limelight? And it feels very early noughties. It hasn't aged well in some regards as well. But I think obviously as we go through some of the tracks as well. So to sum it up, didn't like it, but a few nice surprises.
I think just to add to that, as you said at the end there, hasn't aged well. So I was kind of thinking, like, who would listen to this, or even at the time? I think it's definitely kind of a young, kind of maybe rebellious teenagers type thing, or young adults, probably very early 20s. I can't see this kind of stuff being popular now, really. And like I say, at the time, that sort of age range, I would have thought.
No, definitely, yeah.
Okay, so we'll go through each track. So first one, we had the intro. So I just noted down alien voice. Who's in the house? Being asked, who's in the house? And not a bad intro, all things considered. Just a nice little start. One of the better tracks on the album for me. Anything you wanted to say about the intro?
That wasn't really ads. Yeah, alien infection, don't know about that. I think this is purely and literally an introduction. I think because there's almost 15 tracks, so quite a few tracks. So almost, it's not like it's taken away from actually being a track of the songs. There's still plenty of songs. But I wrote the same thing. Yeah, who's in the house? And it kind of linked to me because, again, I don't know if people could see the album cover. It's a strange album name, which I think we'll get onto on some things we'll talk about. But even the album cover itself, with the sort of alien-looking things on there as well, which you thought maybe might end up being a theme for it, but really is just at the beginning and at the end. But introduction to the album.
Okay, so the first real song was Hot Dog, obviously taken from the name of the album. Chocolate, starfish, and the hot dog flavored water. This is my kind of, as I've always said before, the first song of an album, you're always kind of thinking, because it kind of sets the scene, like in terms of first impressions, So just noted down, so far, not too metally. Obviously, this is as the song's in progress. Too much fuck. I think this was the song where I'd read, I think on Wikipedia, that it has this word fuck like a certain amount of times, like whatever it was, 20 odd times or 30 odd times, can't remember, 40 odd times even. So it was just being repeated over and over again. I don't like it when songs like unnecessarily have swearing, which I thought this was. And then sort of the metal begun. Didn't like the metal part, but the rap part was okay, if not for the swearing. And I think that was a continuous kind of theme of the album in general. Didn't like the metal parts, but the rappy parts were okay. Didn't mind that. And obviously, when there's a lot of swearing involved, just don't really like that. So yeah, not a great start. It could have been worse.
Yeah, I think we probably need to put the
beepers
the
on.
parent warning, the warning and beep signs as well, probably. So yeah, you're close to it. So yeah, it was 46 times, and he actually even says in the song, if I say F 2 more times, that's 46 Fs in this effing rhyme. So he even quotes himself saying with that, and we've talked about swear words in songs where we're not fidget like that. We don't mind. It's just when it's overused or feels like unnecessary, but it feels like I was sort of making fun, a real sort of rebellious teenager trying to make a point really. And you know what? And this is what I've realised by the end of it, that Fred Durst, the lead singer, he's obviously very, very talented, even though if you look in a stereotypical way and think about his songs, what he's doing, you think, oh no, but he obviously does have a lot of talent, and the rapping does kind of show, even though it's not for me great rapping, you can see there is talent with him in some ways. So just to go back then also to the title, so apparently the chocolate starfish is meant to refer to the human anus, because apparently he used to be called an arsehole a lot. So that's where the chocolate starfish come from. And then the hot dog water, apparently one of the other band members brought a water, and they apparently did loads of different flavors. And someone said, or he said, I'm surprised, or there isn't like a meat flavor one, like a hot dog flavor one. And that's where that came from as well. Right. So it's all, and what's good about it, don't seem to care, and they'll just do whatever. The chance to make do an album, they just do, yeah, you know what, we want to call it that. That's exactly what we'll do. So I'll give a little credit to that, I suppose.
Okay. The next song, My Generation. Again, too much swearing. So shit and fuck were used quite a lot. There was a slow part in the song, which is better, but just again, not great, but it was listenable. But again, yeah, just too much swearing. But I did find as the album goes on that there is less swearing. But these first few songs at the beginning, in particular, for some reason, had a lot of swearing in them.
Yeah, he's obviously very angry when he's doing the start of the album and just wants to get it all out of his system. Right here, to me, this will be a classic Limp Bizkit song. This is, if I was thinking of Limp Bizkit, this probably is what it is. Reminds me of like skater teens and mosh pitting. And there was actually a nice sort of bit, I think it was about halfway through, which was quite nice. But yeah, lots of swearing.
Yeah. Then we had Full Nelson. So again, it's crude lyrics there with swearing constantly. Just a horrible song, if I can even call it that, to listen to. The only thing was, at least it wasn't overly metal, so it wasn't too bad in the ears. But yeah, just not a good song.
Yeah, I put the same there. I just made it just seemed to get worse and worse as the song went on for me. Yeah, not an enjoyable one.
Okay, then we had My Way. So an encouraging start, an overall quieter song than the previous three. I wrote down here no swearing. I'm not very good at listening to lyrics. I don't know if there was swearing, but it didn't sound like there was, or at least not in the way there had been previously. I just put down it was the best so far out of a bad bunch, excluding the intro. But yeah, this was better for me.
Yeah. So I actually recognised this song that day, and a song that I don't know who I thought it was, but I did recognise it, did know it, and actually remember liking it back then, and still actually quite like it now. You're right, there isn't any swearing. Again, as far as I remember, there definitely wasn't any swearing in it, and it would be one that I would put on my playlist. It kind of has a good sort of mixture to it, and it feels like it could go really, really rock and really metal, but it doesn't. It does go obviously a little bit louder, but it doesn't go over the top, if that makes sense. It's almost controlled. And it goes back to a nice sort of more quieter, relaxed bits. So yeah, generally a good song.
So you say you recognise it. So you remember this from the past when Limp Bizkit released it, you mean?
Yeah, very much so. But I don't think I remember or thought of it as Limp Bizkit. I don't know who it was, but I definitely knew it and recognised it. And I think it's probably back in the days also, I hope I don't criminalise myself there, Napster was a big thing. So being able to download music. And a lot of the times, I think how people got away with it, they either didn't put the correct artist names or different spellings, so they didn't get caught. So I just had this song as My Way, but didn't really associate who it actually was at the time.
Okay. Were you trying to download, by the way, by the other My? What's it called? I'll do it my. And you ended up with this one by mistake. You're like, actually, it's all right.
It's very good for you, Lee. It's very good for you. But no, that wasn't the case.
Okay. The next one was the big song on the album, the one that we all knew, Rolling, in brackets, Air Raid Vehicle. So yeah, this is the one that I recognized even at the time when I chose it, the album on Wednesday. Didn't have much to say about it. It's just a familiar song, but just really average. I never liked it at the time, even though it was, quite popular. Still don't like it now, but yeah, just average really.
Yeah, same. So as we said before, yeah, song I recognised as well, and I remember saying last time didn't like it back then when everyone seemed to do it. Thought, okay, maybe. How do I feel about it now? Yeah, exactly the same. If anything, I probably hate it more. I would say that's a bit of a harsh word, but I definitely didn't enjoy it.
Okay, next up we had Living It Up. So I had a very rappy start, had some swearing in there. I thought the rap part was okay, as I've said all along. The rap that Limp Bizkit's doing, all that in his songs are all right. But I just wasn't so keen on the loud metal part. Again, sort of same sort of situation. Rap's okay. The louder, the rockier that it gets, or the more metally it gets. Yeah, not into that.
So I wrote here, nice start. Then for me, poor rapping, swearing, poor rock music, repeats. And I think that's all just what the song pretty much did there, really. Yeah, not much more to say. That again, oh no, that's I think it's just very, very early noughties.
Okay. Then we had The One. So this was an interesting song. I put respectable start. It was still calm and not metally for quite a long time. And it was just a very different style of song to the previous ones. The song does then get kind of rocky, I'd say, but not metally as such. And then the song just seems to finish, and then it gets all weird, and it's almost like a new song start. It's a bit like, what do you call it? Almost like kind of like the next track. What do you call it? I can't think of the words. Like in the middle of an album, you sometimes get a thingy that comes up. What do you call it? Interlude. I don't know.
Oh, it's right. Sorry.
Sort of like that, which does come up again for a little bit a bit later in the album. So I just found it was like an odd song, but up to that point, the most listenable on the album so far. So up to that point, probably say, yeah, that's probably the best one.
So again, this is what I said earlier about surprises, and this sort of felt a bit surprised. Definitely felt a lot calmer. Not a bad one. I sort of put here something that I could see myself actually enjoying, actually. Not overly, but it was definitely a nice little change up there.
Yeah. Okay. The next one was Get Your Groove On, Dirt Road Mix. So this was a rappy start, I think, with Exhibit, who was involved in this one. Exhibit and Limp Bizkit. And at that point, so far, it's just pretty much a rap song. I found it quite catchy. Again, a lot of swearing, which I don't like. And again, completely different to the previous tracks. Again, best song on album so far. So now this has become my my best song. I just found this very different. This was more of just, to me, like a rap track without any of the metal rock stuff going on.
Yeah, sort of put the same there. I just said not the worst, but definitely not the best. For me, it was just a bit, and I think it works well with the Exhibit's rapping. This is where I realised where, yeah, even though I've said, Fred Durst, he's very talented. He can rap. He's quite good, but I think he's definitely probably better as a singer. And I think it worked well if he was doing like sort of the rock and the singing, and then left the rapping to Exhibit. Like in this song, it actually could be a really, really good song. But otherwise, this particular one, where he's done, just, like I said, not the worst, not the best, middle ground.
Then we had Take a Look Around. So again, it was rappy, but then it got metally and loud. Don't like the heavy stuff. Parts of the song are okay. I think this is kind of like generally what the album's like. I mean, I think the songs generally do start off quite rappy, I would say, in general, and then they sort of build up and they get to that kind of really hardcore, whatever you want to call it, hard rock or metally kind of part. So yeah, this is pretty typical, I thought, in that respect.
Yeah, again, actually didn't mind this one. So obviously you could hear sort of the Mission Impossible music in the background. In terms of this was done for the movie as well. For the really good start to the song, and I said actually didn't mind it too much.
Okay, then we had It'll Be Okay. So a nice quiet start as usual. As I said, that's quite a common theme. They start off all right, these songs generally. Then it got all loud and sweary and just not good. Didn't like it in the end.
Yeah, but they're sort of really not a bad start, better starts. And again, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the song My Way, which I quite liked. Because again, it felt like, even though it went rocky and stuff, but it didn't go too over the top. It always seemed to be, really can't explain. Like I feel like it could really have gone. It's always bringing it always back a little bit. So it's trying to be overly rocky, but it's not. Wasn't too bad. What's for here? Oh, no, that's sort of what I put there. Yeah, so it reminded me of My Way. Could have gone really rocky, but sort of holds itself back a little bit. Just not bad.
Okay. Then we had Boiler. I don't have this here in notes, but wasn't this quite a long song?
Yeah, so apparently this one, this is the Boiler song, and then there's also a hidden track as well.
So loud in parts, but the rest of the song is quite low key. There was no obvious swearing that I could hear in there. I found it an interesting song, and then there was that interlude part of the song, kind of at the end, which really kind of made it a bit weird. So yeah, quite an unusual and interesting song, but that doesn't mean I liked it. I didn't like it. I just found it quite intriguing, I guess.
Yeah, same. Found it more sort of an intriguing type song. I've written down here Linkin Park, and it made me realise with some of the previous tracks as well, is that same sort of Linkin Park feel to it, which again to me feels very early noughties as well. And again, it's almost like the two sides of Limp Bizkit or Fred Durst. Again, you feel like you've got him where he's trying to sing emotionally, it seems, but then goes into a bit of a rap or a bit of a rock. And it feels like it's almost like him trying to sort of fight with himself in a way. And like you, yeah, didn't love it, but found it more sort of intriguing, and it was making me think about more of him as an artist and what he could actually pretty offer. And like I said to me, it just feels like he was almost like fighting with himself musically.
Interesting. Next song was Hold On. This was a slow, quiet song. I did find it boring, repetitive, but at least it was something different. So like I said at the beginning of this album, that I found this album to be quite varied in terms of the style. So obviously the rapping and then the hard stuff going on, and each song kind of offered something different. So yeah, this one was just quite low key throughout. I just found it just a bit boring.
Yeah, I can see where you came from there. I actually really like this song and would consider put it on my playlist. Again, just wasn't really expecting it at all. it almost sounded like a bit like U2 at the start, very soft, very slow. And I said, it just made me realize actually how good of a singer he actually is really. Um, and like I said, if this was what Limp Bizkit was all about, this sort of style, I'd probably be a big fan. I thought I would really sort of enjoy it. I know he did this song with someone else who was from the Stone Temple Pilots, which are also quite rocky sort of bands. But yeah, it seems like he's got a really good voice. Fully surprised with this song on being on the album, and for me personally, I quite liked it. But I can see why people might find it a bit slow, a bit boring. But like I said, I think it just took me by surprise. Enjoyed it.
Okay, so then we had the last actual song before we had the outro. This time is an interesting one, I thought. Roll In, but this was the Urban Assault Vehicle. This one was featured, I think, some rappers, and it was just to me, a full-on rap version of the original version of Rollin'. That's actually all I put. So I didn't like it, but yeah, it was just pretty much a rap version of the original Rollin'. So interesting to kind of compare the two. I didn't like this one any less than the other one. Did I like it any more? Maybe slightly, but yeah, it was just for me a rap version of the original.
Yeah, it was almost like a different song from a different album just placed on here. I know obviously Fred Durst is obviously rapping in that, but he almost is shadowed over with the other guys rapping. I did put the word here angry. It felt very, and I know, and listen, don't get me wrong, I understand, you want different emotions, songs don't all need to be about love and good feelings and whatnot. But I don't know, when you feel like you're that angry, I think you just need to take a break. Well, you have to be that angry singing it. And at times I actually forgot this was meant to be Rolling. Like I said, it felt like a different song until it got to a point when him did the famous sort of rolling bit in a different way. But yeah, otherwise, like I said, it looked like it just could have been taken from any other album and put onto there. Which again, I don't criticize him because I think that's quite unique and quite good to put on there. It's something that he likes as well. Then great.
Okay, we're moving on to the last track, outro. So there's obviously been a lot of swearing in the album, and you're going to have to pardon my French here, but what the fuck was that? the outro. I mean, it was the longest track on the album, 9 minutes odd long, and wow, this one, I think out of all the tracks on the album, this was the one that caught my attention the most and was the most intrigued by. So it was an alien voice, like as in the intro at the beginning, and then it was a man speaking and laughing about Limp Bizkit. So basically, like taking the Mickey out of him, effectively. He said some interesting things. He said like, "Oh, I really appreciate what you do. It's like punk, pop, metal, thrash, kind of all into one. So yeah, you've done well there." And then it just became laughing, a few minutes of just pure laughing. It's a ridiculous laugh. And my wife in the other room asked me, "Is everything okay? What's happening with that guy?" I was like, "Yeah, he's laughing." So, "Oh, he's laughing." And she came over to have a look. She actually got out of the other room to come into my room to see what's going on. I said, "Yeah, I'm just listening to a song. This is just part of the song." And I thought it was just going to continue until the end. But fortunately, it stopped eventually. Then there was a phone call, a conversation happened over some background music, and that was it. I did look into it. I think they were actors. Just a really weird outro. I believe this was a hidden track as well. So yeah, it certainly wasn't the song, but it was a track on the album, and it was just peculiar. I'll probably say the most peculiar track I've ever listened to on any of these albums we've reviewed so far.
Yeah, I definitely still agree with that. As you said, they're weird sort of aliens. So the person who's speaking at the start, I believe, is Ben Stiller, the actor. Because I think at the time, Zoolander was a movie that had just come out, and even Fred Durst, I think, apparently appeared in it as well, and apparently they do know each other and are fans of each other. So it was obviously taking the mick type thing. But yeah, what was going on? It's like, I think you've probably said in the previous one, it's almost like they've left the record track and not realised and just and then they were talking about Rod Stewart and then with the laughing as well. So I read it. So the laughing is obviously just been looped as well, because generally you find if you hear someone else laughing, it's quite infectious. You just join in, but with this, it's just uncomfortable. It's just like, what is? Oh my god! And the thing, because it was just a loop of just like a 5 seconds of him laughing, just repeating. So it just then started to feel not. I don't know, just very, very strange. As if like all on drugs. And I don't know what else I put here. And yeah, and then the phone call. And then with the phone call, I'm glad you found out and turned those actors, because again, I couldn't work out or didn't realize who was meant to be talking and what they were talking about and why. It's weird. I feel like they could have done a lot more with that sort of last track, even if they kept it the same, but having more of a clue what goes on really. But yeah, definitely the strangest of tracks we've ever had to
yeah, I think like with one thing that always kind of puzzles me when you listen to an album, not individual songs, but just a lot of albums we listen to, they have these weird things going. We talked about it before. Sometimes in these rap albums, they have these weird interludes and things like that, and weird endings, like we just heard there. I don't get it. I really don't get it at all. Like what the logic is behind it. What does it bring to the album? What's the point of it? Maybe because I'm not musically artistic. Maybe that's why I don't get it. But I don't know. For me, I would still much rather just have like song after song after song. Or if there is going to be some interlude in between or some ending part, at least let it be so it makes sense to me personally. Anyway, that's what I think.
Yeah. Again, I think that you're not musical enough to really know. The way I see it, it makes it that little bit different. It's then what people then might start talking about and just trying to be, I guess, just a little bit different and something to stand out than just having an album with the same type of songs being a bit more boring, so to speak. So at least it's trying to be a little bit different.
Okay, so that concludes our album review. I guess just to conclude, yeah, could have been worse. Didn't like it, but yeah, interesting to listen to. Quite unique. I think that'd be a good word to use. Unique. I don't know. There may be other bands that are similar, but not that I'm aware of, or not that I've heard of anyway. A lot of different music kind of styles going on. So yeah, interesting to listen to, but not something I'd want to listen to again. How would you sum it up?
Yeah, same sort of thing there. I think the question I'd really would like to ask, I don't know if I would ever get the answer, is if there are any Limp Bizkit fans listening, what are their favourite tracks from the album? What do they like? What do they get out of it? Because I said it's almost extremes of each one. So when the rapping's on there, like the real proper rapping, you know how we talked about like pop music, it's almost like a watered down version, or it's like a friendlier version of the genre type music it's going to be. With this, it's almost like a hardcore, well, not the super hardcore, but a hardcore version of rock, hardcore version of rapping, metal, and there are two different ends of the spectrum. You sort of your rock music and your rapping. Now, don't get me wrong, there probably are fans who could be fans of both, like Limp Bizkit is. But then you've also got like the songs I like on there, like Hold On, which is a really slow, doesn't have the rock, doesn't have the rapping. Do they also like that song, those type of songs as well? So it'd be interesting to know, proper Limp Bizkit fans, what are their favourite tracks from this, or what do they like from, or if there's any songs that they don't like. And that pretty much, and was how it sums up the album as well. There's just a bit of everything on there, not the worst. As I will listen to again, no, but I did take a couple of songs that I do actually quite like from it, which I was surprised.
Yeah, I think that's a good question to pose. Like, normally you would kind of cater for one type of audience, you know, whatever, metal, rock, rap, whereas this is just kind of combining a bit of everything. So who really likes that, you know? You would, again, it's two different ends of the spectrum. One thing I would just say, there is someone that we know or used to know. I'll give you an example. I reckon someone who might like this would be Paul from college.
Yeah, I was listening. I was thinking of Paul from college.
You can imagine that. Yeah, there are those people out there that do like that kind of hardcore stuff, the rock and the metal, but they could also like the rap as well. So yeah, I guess you do get those people out there.
Oh yeah, don't I won't say they're not out there. I definitely think because again, this is an album that sold extremely well. It was a very big selling album, and I said there's a lot of people who were listening to it. But I said because you've then also got the really slow stuff. I was thinking, would Paul from college like that song? He probably would, but I know he likes all different sorts of stuff. But they can't all be Paul from college.
Okay,
that's all.
Well, I think that wraps up our review of Limp Bizkit. Was it called Chocolate? No, what's it called?
Chocolate Starfish.
Without looking, chocolate flavored start. I don't know. So I've forgotten the name of it. Chocolate
Starfish.
Chocolate Starfish and a hot dog flavored water. All right. So yeah, on to the next one. Join us on Wednesday for the next album choice. See you guys.